What's up, and welcome to IDW Comics Transformers 2013 Monstrosity. This show will be covering issues 4 and 5. To start us off, you guys know Ramrod down here, and we got Briag 45, King of Lore, as proclaimed by Pake for Life. Was it? You ain't gonna live it down. So we're just going to go ahead and start this off. What's up, DFS, M3? Won't always be able to see chat at the time, but M3, you do have a wrench. So if you notice anybody has a question or you're at your computer, let me know. We're going to do roll call. The Cybertronians or the robots that were in the previous issue that we just discussed on the last video, which was a few months ago. So let me get the roll call up for issue 3, which was last one. For the Autobots, we got Slag, Snarl, Swoop, Sludge, Grimlock, Optimus Prime, Skylynx. For Decepticons, we have Megatron, Scorponok, Starscream, Blitzwing, Tankor, Skywarp, Thundercracker, Dirge, Ramjet, and Thrust. Others would consist of Phineas and Diatlas. So go ahead and take us through the beginning here. Let's look at the cover of this.
Hey, just to clarify, when you said Tankor, you mean the renamed Octane, right?
Okay, go ahead, Ramrod.
I think that's right. If I remember correctly, that's Octane.
Yeah, I know the other Tankor from Beast Wars shows up way later. It's just I couldn't remember.
I get some info from the comics, some from media, but the roll call comes from Transformers Wiki. So Wiki has Tankor, so that's up for question.
Yeah, well, reading through there, I remember them calling him Tankor. So, yeah, at first I thought, who was that? And then I realized, oh, that must be, Octane.
Yeah, they had to rename him back in the old universe line to Tankor because they lost the rights to Octane.
I'll never understand that.
I know, they could have just called him Decepticon Octane.
Yeah.
So let's have a look at this cover art as we go on here. Let's see. Minus this.
So you got a nice big picture of a Sharkticon attacking Megatron, 2 Sharkticons in the water or the acid lake.
These are very interesting issues to me. Go ahead, Ramrod.
Well, here we got the recap. As we know, that as we left off on Planet Junkion, Megatron was exiled by Scorponok, and he found Pentheus. And but back on Cybertron, Grimlock and his renegades were raiding the Energon refinery, and Scorponok blew it up. So anyway. Well, actually, I think that's a little bit of foreshadowing. The Grimlock called the Autobots, and that's where we're coming in at.
Yeah.
But this is Chapter 4, Rage, story by Chris Metzen and Flint Dilley, art and cover by Livio Ramondelli, and letters by Tom B. Long and editor John Barber. So this issue came out in 2013.
I think it definitely reads as so, but okay. So leading into that, during the skirmish between Autobots and Decepticons, the Dinobots make a break for it. But not to run and hide, but to lure the Decepticons into a trap. Chief among them being lured and trapped would be Scorponok. Scorponok is enraged by the coward's actions of the Dinobots and leaves Starscream in command and gives chase to the Dinobots. Optimus Prime follows suit and leaves Diatlas in charge to round up the remaining Decepticon terrorists and bring them to justice. Who will prevail? Optimus Prime, Scorponok, or Grimlock? Is there a shocking turn of events waiting for everyone involved that will impact life as they know it on Cybertron? Meanwhile, Megatron and Pentheus continue their journey across the treacherous zombie world of Junkion. Will Megatron be able to return to glory and take rule of the Decepticons once more? or will he perish battered, beaten, and betrayed on the monster planet of Junkion? And that's where we come into the comic.
All right, so we came in at the Taraxis Mega Refinery just as the Autobots are arriving. Pretty nice big shot here.
Yeah.
I really like the coloring. You know, they got the really bright background. It's kind of neat the airbrushing they did on like the laser lights and Skylink's eye, whatever you want to call it. So they're gunning in, and they've basically blindsided the Decepticons. So when you got the Dinobots moving out, trying to basically they've called the backup, and now they're trying to just get, because they know their heist has gone bad.
Right. For some reason, the art looks very autocracy to me, but for some reason, I enjoy this better. It's almost like dark, but still colors to the inking.
Yep. Same artist, same blocky concepts, still lots of like smattering. Like if you look at like this purple all over Scorponok, how it's dark purple, light purple, but everything is a brighter tone. So you're definitely not in the back alleys in the Undercity. Now you're up on the surface where there's just more light.
Right. Go ahead for a second while I flip through something.
Okay, so it pans to the Dinobots here as they're making their escape, going down a corridor. And looks like Blitzwing and Scorponok and Soundwave have intercepted them.
Yeah, like I said, this is kind of what Grimlock had in mind. He wanted to corral Scorponok.
Yep.
I think it's interesting. I think it's interesting to think about Scorponok later. We kind of know now what's happening and developing, but we also know a little bit later in what series is it? The Infiltration, Devastation, those series, kind of what he becomes then. I don't want to say what he becomes, but I think it's important to think ahead when you're reading the story and you know where it's heading, to kind of think you can kind of see how people develop. But we know where he's getting ready to head and what he becomes later on.
Yeah, and it seems like here and later on, Scorponok is shown to have a bit of a grudge against Grimlock.
Yeah, it's kind of neat too, because I think that's a little bit of a throwback to the Marvel comics when Grimlock and Scorponok butted heads quite a bit. Okay, so they pretty much get the fight underway here. And we pan now back to Megatron, back on Junkion. And he is at basically an acid lake called the Corroded Shore.
I think it's very important to let people know this world of Junkion is very toxic. They describe it several times as a zombie world, a monster world. But later on, we're going to kind of see what it used to be, which is something completely different.
Yeah. Pentius describes it right here. These acidic waters can corrode even your grand bravado. So, I mean, he doesn't even think Megatron's going to make it out of this acid water.
Right. He acts like he doesn't think he'll make it. But when you find out a little bit later, it's almost like he knows he's going to have these tests. But still, I don't know. He has some kind of foreshadowing thought. It'll be interesting to flesh that out.
You know, for as little as we see Quintessons across most of this series, it really makes you wonder what other roles they've actually played in the whole universe and Transformers as a whole inside this comic series. They touch some on it, but they don't touch a lot, you know, because we used to know in G1 they were creators / the enslavers of Transformers.
Yeah, and here Pentius, you know, the way he's portrayed here is I've had a difficulty trying to figure out if he is actually clairvoyant or if he's just crazy. You know, if he's just, you know, been here so long, he's just lost his mind, or maybe just a little bit of both.
Yeah, and who knows, having 5 faces and maybe one gigantic brain, you never know the anatomy of these things. they could be just as calculating a shockwave, and maybe he kind of has like a probability process where he just knows things are going to happen based on probabilities. Because I think it was the last issue where he said that he had been there for hundreds and hundreds of years, being a student of watching the universe. So maybe it's just delusions. Who knows?
Right. You can see Sharkticon comes right up out of the acid. Right up out of the acid pool.
Yep. Look how big that thing is compared to Megatron.
Right. I think it's definitely awesome to flesh out the scaling of all this, because it does kind of put it into some real world perspective.
Yep.
I think you touched on another episode, the cloak that he's got on right now kind of makes you wonder if that's where they took the real live action movies from. I think
it was
I
a
don't remember.
thought.
Yeah. I think you guys already touched on that once.
It's just interesting because it's the exact same shape of cowl, just same shoulder and all.
Yep. And you can see right there he is taken under into the acid. So the acid pool does not affect these Sharkticons in the least bit, it seems.
Yeah, and for Pentius to wonder that Megatron's probably going to get dissolved or eaten down, it makes you wonder what they're made of versus what Megatron's made of.
Correct.
So now it jumps back to Scorponok and Grimlock having their tussle. First panel, basically, looks like Grimlock's getting a fist to the face, right to the side. Something purple, assuming it's his fist.
Yeah, it's his claws, I would assume.
Yeah. But he's got Grimlock down, gloating as usual.
Grimlock does say you always did talk too much, and I think that's right. I think it's one of the annoying points about Scorponok during this point in time. He does run his giblet a lot.
Isn't he kind of that tropey bad guy that you would always expect out of like a Bond villain, you know? As soon as he thinks he's got you, he explains his plan, and then he gets slapped around.
Yeah.
And you can see that, in this comic especially, that he doesn't really have a plan. He has, a desire, but he doesn't have any kind of plan.
Yep. Something else kind of to notice, just size again. Look how much bigger Scorponok is over Grimlock. And later on, you'll see Grimlock standing next to Prime and see how much bigger he is compared to Prime. Scorponok's not a small bot of any stature at all.
Yeah, like he was supposed to be a city bot just for the toy, but he's not a city bot here. But definitely, I'm glad that they fleshed him out to be a little larger than the others, because Grimlock is a large beast.
Yeah, and I think they later on, when they introduce Fortress Maximus, Fortress is a big bot as well. He's bigger than Ultra Magnus is, because I know they show a panel of him next to Trailbreaker, and Trailbreaker only comes up to like his hip or something. So he's a big bot too. So here you got Scorponok looking like he's guarding something. Takes his fingers right off, and then gets a swift fist to the face.
Yeah, look at that. Grimlock just says, no, right here, buddy, right in your mouth, right in your eyeball.
And then you notice something's happening to Grimlock. They've changed his tone. They've changed his font. He's got spikes coming out of him. Yeah,
that's going to be a big narrative through these issues about what's going on with the Dinobots.
Yep. And why it's happening. They actually do continue that story. It's kind of neat. So you got the other two Dinobots you got Snarl and you got Swoop. I believe that's Snarl.
I think it is Snarl.
They see it. They know what's happening. So now he's got all these blades sticking out of him, spikes. In the name of Adaptus, what's happening to you? That he punched his lights out. Notice his eyes aren't glowing anymore. All their eyes glow. Not Scorponok's.
Oh, good.
That's
Good
kind of
catch.
a bit of cool artistry.
Good catch. What does that make you think?
Well, it doesn't make me think he's blinded him, but it does make me think that maybe when their eyes are like this, maybe they have a good ability of dark vision, of seeing in the dark, and maybe he punched out the receptors that are capable of allowing him to see in the dark. So now he's just pure bare vision.
I haven't really thought about that, so I haven't come up with any kind of theory, but that sounds close, but it's definitely something worth wondering about right there.
Yep. So they're on Grimlock now. They're trying to hold him down, and he's going berserk, going to kill them all, he says. And
Yeah,
Prime blasts him. Just calm him down, not a kill shot.
Yeah. Well, hey. So, do you think he has different settings on his ion blaster, or do you think Grimlock's just that powerful?
I think both. I think in this particular instance, Prime probably knew it wasn't going to take him down, or it'd be better to try and take him down. And that, one of those, it's better to ask forgiveness or beg forgiveness than ask permission. So he probably just gave him a full blast and did nothing. I always thought it was weird that he called him son. I get it's kind of an expression of speech, but it also makes me wonder the question, is Prime older than Grimlock? Just based on that manner of speech.
That's true. I missed that today. I went through this several times. I did miss that. Damn. See, that's why we got Ramrod, and that's why we got Briag 45 here. These guys can flesh out these details well.
But it also, I know that they have expressed before that there's fembots and there's, the male counterparts, but you never see anything about children or anything like that. So for him to use the word son just seemed a little out of place, although
More
it's really
slang.
just an expression.
More slang, kind of later on when somebody says "go to hell." It's like, okay, that has to be slang because I don't think that's a deal here.
Yep.
Always figure it's translation. So
yeah,
translating it for us.
Yeah, there you go. That could actually cover everything.
Actually, it's very good. That's exactly what I think.
We're reading these comics through the eyes of humans. It's as close as what we could get from the interpretation. This is the readings of Alpha Trion.
Yeah, let's just say these were reinterpreted by the creators, and it's actually some kind of material elsewhere. That's cool. That's awesome. That's, as Sardo Nimspa 82 would say, that's the headcanon.
Yep. All right, back to Junkion again, and your boy Megatron has tore up all the Sharkticons.
Yeah, he is. Yeah,
just ripping and tearing. But then they drag him under. They're starting to overwhelm him.
And I also understand he is at a very reduced capacity.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
He took a pretty good beating, and then just the environment here of this world is trying to finish him off.
Yeah, he's reaching into the fumes at the bottom of the tank.
His particular state, most Cybertronians would not have prevailed already.
Right. And, he's already at that point where most of his body probably isn't his original body, because after every one of those Coliseum fights, he was replacing parts and upgrading. So this isn't really anything new to him. He's probably been down that bad before.
Like it's the saying goes, he was forged in the pits of Chaos. If you don't know what Chaos is, you need to go back and check out the video we did the very first time we fired up these comic live streams and the Megatron origins. Everything you want to know about Megatron and what he was before Decepticon leader is right there.
Yep. So back to Optimus, Grimlock, Scorponok. You got Optimus standing over Scorponok again, lights out, so it's not like an artist mistake. And basically trying to talk Grimlock down off the cliff here of going insane. So, and Atlas having some conversation with Prime, basically telling him, you're not you're not doing the way things should be done. They kind of continue having a civil disagreement over how things should be done, even though he's the prime. So, and they're one of the things that's going on is Grimlock's thinking about blowing the whole place up, mostly because he's scared of what he is and what he's becoming, and he thinks that might be his only out. So he leaps for the fusion regulator.
Correct. It's kind of fuzzy and blurry. What I think, anyway. Maybe it's just me, kind of where it ends off at.
Yeah, I think right here, part of his motivation for this whole action is he's just so tired and he wants to end it, and it's kind of almost suicidal. But then looks like he gets talked down, and I think that's a reminder of the other reason he's trying to get off planet was to save people.
Yeah.
And it's going to be told why he's in this particular mental mindset. We will explain that tonight in one of the issues.
Seems like this whole situation with him is a little bit of a metaphor for some kind of mental sickness, like schizophrenia, and he doesn't know any way out, any way to treat it.
And also very much PST or
PTSD.
Yes, sir. Thank you. Sorry about that.
Yep. Yeah. So still here with Scorponok and Prime again, lights out. So Scorponok's egging him on. Basically, you don't have the guts to blow this place. Prime telling him to shut up.
Shut up. I like it.
Yeah, kind of out of character. Shut up, Scorponok.
Well, I think we're going to see it a couple more times. I think he has displayed some kind of out of character as we know him to be, but this is going through his early stages as becoming the Prime. We will see him evolve and change into what we know.
Yeah, because he evolves over the whole comic series. So yeah, he's a new Prime. He's getting his wings. He's flexing that muscle that he wanted to flex while he was an officer, trying to get things in peaceful order, and probably realizing it's a lot tougher than what he thought it was going to be. Or at least it's definitely as tough as what he thought it was going to be.
Yeah, there's actually another one of these, the shut up moments. There's another moment like that later in the last issue we're going to cover tonight. Let's see. That'd be 8. Yep.
So Grimlock kind of gets talked down. Scorponok, calls him disappointing as always and reaches for the regulator himself. And this is Scorponok's word bubble that says, "We're all monsters." Basically pulling the switch on all of them.
Yeah, and you can see Starscream and Soundwave in the background. Everybody's converged because they'd had separated. Starscream was leading this barrage against Diatlas. Oh, I'm sorry, this Diatlas. So
Diatlas, Blitzwing, and Soundwave.
Right, my bad. I saw. Yep.
It does look like Starscream though.
Without the massive freaking phallic device on top of his head.
Yeah, the crest.
It's large. It's definitely exaggerated in this comic.
Yeah, what you don't know about Diatlas, he loves murder. That's a murder boner right there. There's some lore for you.
Sweet.
So it's pulled and free. So there's the alarm.
All right. So I have to see. That's going to do it for issue 4. We're going to cover issue 5. Let's go through the chat and see if anybody has anything. I don't know. Did you see? I don't know if you were looking, Ramrod, if anybody had
I didn't see any questions, but if you have some, go ahead and repost it.
Yeah, we're going to look at those between issues. So please, we're making sure that you can definitely read the comics on screen. You can understand what's going on. So what we see in the chat, I can't even see the chat most times. So don't think we don't love you, but we're just getting it done.
I did notice there was a lot of people, going on about the size of their Sharkticon army. So
Uh,
some of them are pretty sizable, it looks like.
yeah, like McDJ says here. Let's see. Bring up the next comic if you would,
Okay.
Briag. That'd be issue. Let me get all my stuff ready here. McDJ CDC said that's what I was thinking, that he was always upgrading from the leftover parts. We'll find out more about that in these series. That's kind of a tactic that the Decepticons use right now.
Yeah.
Yeah, because his right arm was replaced in one of the issues 1 through 3, and
Yeah.
you can tell
Megatron
it's
origin.
a different type of arm.
Right.
Yeah, and that's when Starscream brought him the fusion cannon because he lost his right arm, and making the comment that he always leads with his right arm.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking about in Monstrosity.
Oh, yeah. Right now he's lost
when
his
he
right
got
arm
dropped
too.
off here. I can't remember exactly what happened, but he found some, or had to defeat somebody, and he basically took somebody else's right arm and made it his own.
Yeah.
Okay, so before we start chapter 5, which is entitled Fallout, Ramrod will get there in just a second. The roll call for the chapter we just read for the Autobots will be Metroplex, Optimus Prime, Ironhide, Bumblebee, Grimlock, Wheeljack, Perceptor, Ratchet, and Jetfire. For the Decepticons, we have Scorponok, Thundercracker, Soundwave, Blitzwing, and Megatron. Others would be Blaster, Diatlas, Pentius, Pre-Junkions. Okay, so before Ramrod goes, why did they have Blaster in others? Did you notice that they put him in the other category, not the Autobots or the Decepticons?
Well, I don't remember him being in this issue. I know he's in the next one.
Right. Well, they said he was in. That was the roll call for the last issue we just read. Did anybody see Blaster in there?
I don't remember it unless he was, uncredited.
He had to be. Maybe he was background, and I
He
missed
might have
it.
been background.
All
All I
right.
remember is the Autobots busting in. I didn't even see Metroplex because he would have been stationed in Fortress mode over Nyon or in Nyon.
Okay.
So I don't know.
All right. Let's go ahead and. Looks like it's kind of snowing with that art right there. It's not, but.
Yeah, you got all that, basically what we would call nuclear fallout with
Yeah.
an exploding power plant.
Actually, it's because. Go ahead.
Civilization. So, yeah, go ahead and go on there.
Yep. So that was done by Livio.
Yeah.
Nice, good shot of Optimus kneeling.
Yeah. And we just went through the last issue, so I think we need to recap.
Okay. Let's go ahead and. Chapter. Oh, go ahead. Go ahead, Ramrod.
Yeah, Chapter 5, Fallout. Story by Chris Metzen and Flint Dilley. Art and cover by Livio Ramondelli. Letters by Tom P. Long and editor John Barber. And this one also published in 2013.
So, Chapter 5 Fallout, which Ramrod just introduced us to. Scorponok has just denoted that the Torx Mega Refinery, a vital installation for energy refinery and distribution for all Cybertronians. Sorry about that. He detonated. Scorponok has just detonated the Torx Mega Refinery, a vital installation for energy refining and distribution for all Cybertronians. With energy resources at an extreme low, the loss of this refinery and the death and destruction among its wake has forced Atlas to suggest that Optimus Prime issue a planet exodus to seek new sources of fuel should be the new course of action, and that Prime's actions and decisions are a part of many things that has led to this unfortunate outcome. Meanwhile, on Junkion, Megatron emerges from the depths of the acid sea, another brutal and unforgiving surprise that waits for all travelers on the monster zombie world of Junkion. Pentius is impressed with Megatron's survival, but feels is more important for Megatron to learn the lesson of why Junkion has become this way. Will Megatron adhere to the advice and wisdom that he has been given, or will he be doomed to repeat the mistakes made by others, which has led to the destruction and downfall? Okay, go ahead, Briag.
Hey,
All
just
right.
one comment before you start, Bragg.
Yeah.
I just want to point out that in the comic somewhere, there's somebody makes a reference to Scorponok blowing a hole in the planet. Yeah, this right here gives you the
The
scale.
breadth.
Yeah,
Excuse me a second.
that's a sizable hole.
I was going to say, like, you were asking earlier, Pack, about a map of Cybertron so we know where stuff was happening. Stuff happened right here. This is where Thorax is at.
Okay.
Stuff
Now, I don't know the correlation to any of this other stuff, but that's definitely the refinery or where it was.
Yeah. But so if anyone didn't understand, toward the end, Scorponok did blow up the Energon refinery, and we'll find out what Ramrod is talking about later. And yeah, that was such an important Energon refinery that's the destruction it caused.
I got to wonder. Scorponok, he's a bit of a scientist, maybe a bit of a mad scientist, but he's not completely insane. For him to have blown all that up, he must have known that he was going to at least survive himself. So I don't know if that's just
it's like they had a shield or something. I don't know if they mentioned it, but I'm thinking that they must have had a shield around the control center to shield them from the resulting explosion.
something, or they're just all that tough. Because man, that's a big hole for a planet that it changes in size depending on what continuity. But I know in Marvel's G1, it's estimated to be the size of Saturn. So, what's a big ass hole? That hole's about the size of Earth, maybe.
Good Lord.
Yeah.
Good night.
Good. All right. So we got Blaster, basically not narrating. He's doing like the funeral procession type thing, blasting the news out to people because that's what he does. There's a big hole of what went down. Look at all that melted scrap.
Right. I'm going to have to go back and check my source. I wonder if I read the wrong roll call. I'll have to check that because.
Maybe because I think there's a picture in here showing Metroplex because that's where everything's taken place.
Most of the roll calls are the same for all this, but it is nice to know who comes and who goes and what kind of errors may occur if somebody's died before and now they're back.
So yeah, he's labeled definitely the Decepticon leader. Scorponok triggered the meltdown. And there's Metroplex in the city of Nion.
Yeah, because he's not transforming, but he is definitely in alt form and city form in this a lot.
Yeah, it takes a lot for him to do anything. That's a lot of power.
Because right here they're actually inside Metroplex doing the memorial for everyone who died in that catastrophic event.
Yeah, and I think these guys are all purposely double lined and blurred because I don't think anybody of name actually died.
I
only had a small handful.
I zoomed in to see if I could see any kind of resemblance of that. Where you have your cursor on right now, I thought, man, that chest and head kind of looks like Ironhide. We know he didn't die, but
yeah, this one, the double shoulder cannons could be like a prowl person,
right?
This single can shoulder could be like a sideswipe person. It's hard to tell.
Nobody's ever named.
Yep. So you got the general procession, Prime leading it, Diatlas looking pissed, everyone else looking mournful. So notice Diatlas is the only one with red eyes.
Yeah. Damn it, that's a good catch too.
So That'd be interesting because I've never, I don't know, I've never really noticed them change their eyes depending on if they're mad or not. I've seen eye changing features on toys and stuff before, but that'd be interesting if they can change the color of their eyes.
That is
Oh, you know
interesting.
what? They can. We'll learn about it later, but there's a kind of a thing that Drift's involved with, that religious group where people can change the color of their eyes depending on the mood of the room.
Okay.
We'll get to it. It's a long ways off.
It's all falling apart.
Okay. So after the procession, Prime's quarters, Diatlas confronts him. Prime more determined than ever to protect the people, and Diatlas's baby basically at to what end, and he doesn't really question it directly in these words, but Prime's motto is freedom is the right of all sentient beings, and Diatlas is like, how far are you willing to use the word freedom? Because I think we should all be able to leave the planet, and you're not letting us.
Yeah. Diatlas is definitely suggesting to Optimus that, hey, you're going about this the wrong way, and you're just as much a part of this destruction that you're trying to stop as anything else.
Right.
Which, if you think about it, fighting over and over is going to lead to that. So it's just the natural growth of him. But this is just a constant war that never stops. Sometimes I wonder, man, how tiring. I mean, you'd be honestly, how tiring every time you turn around, you got another front, another battle, another impending doom.
Yep. And every one of these people have seen nothing but autocratic rule, hence why they're called Autobots, and the Primes just being more of an oppressive symbol than anything hopeful.
Okay. Yeah, so that's basically what's happening here. They're jaw jacking back and forth, and Optimus is like, Diatlas is telling me, even though you have the Matrix, that's just, it's wisdom, but you still have to learn on your own.
Yep. He does make a distinction that you are not like Zeta. I know you believe in freedom enough to die for it. So Diatlas has got faith in Optimus Prime, but not currently his ways.
Right. They have definitely a relationship of not getting along. Actually, it's not necessarily not getting along. It's challenging the other.
Yeah.
But towards the end of this, one of the ones coming up, it definitely seems like there's some beef between the two.
Yep. So here you got Inculcular.
Yeah, here's where we talked about earlier. This is where Scorponok, it says the dead are not to be mourned; they're to be scavenged. Take the best of their parts, melt the rest. So once again, they continue to take from others, just like in the gladiatorial events.
Yep. So, and one of them questions him.
Oh yeah. Does anybody else think that resembles Megatron?
Yeah.
Right there.
Just a little.
Yep. It definitely looks like maybe a smaller miner character, like one of the miners that Megatron might have mined with.
Right. And he challenges and says this is not what Megatron would do. And Scorponok does not like Megatron, so right here he just slices half of his head off.
Yep.
And tells the others, do not scavenge his parts. We do not scavenge the weak. Yep. Basically.
Which is kind of funny because all of these, he just called them failures, which you'd think would be the weak, but he's telling them to scavenge them.
Yeah. Basically what it means is don't scavenge him because he said he brought up Megatron or something.
Yeah. He said he contradicted himself completely, but yeah.
Yeah, this is where everybody's starting to, realize, all the Decepticons are starting to realize exactly, who they got in a leader with Scorponok.
Yeah. They're probably all sitting there thinking, how do we take him down?
Yeah, because he He's got the term leader, but he is not having leadership qualities.
Yep.
So back at the junkie on the Acid Sea, we come back to Megatron and Pentius. Let's see.
Pentius seems happy that Megatron made it out of the water.
He does, and if you know what happens, like the foreshadowing, it's like, I want to get there. I want to get there. So just remember his face right now and the idea and the facts that we've been led to think that he knows what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So with what happens, it's like, haha. I mean, but anyway, they're getting really wore down, or Megatron's getting really wore down. And are they on their way yet to the rendezvous of where that's where they're going to now.
This is where we're getting a little bit of history of Junkion.
Okay, yes, this is. This is definitely where we find out what happened to Junkion and how Pentius is trying to teach Megatron, do not duplicate the failures of these civilians in this planet.
Yep.
And the Junkions were once a beautiful yet narcissistic race who squandered any potential they might have had. Lazy and indolent, they were shocked to discover they had depleted their world of its precious resources. Look at that dude. Look at that dude that got the huge statue of him.
Yep.
What's up? I swear I've seen that face on something before. That head looks familiar. Can't put my finger on it, though.
Everything to the max.
So yeah, you can kind of get an idea of why the planet is the way it is. Like the acid sea and all that. It's just basically toxic waste from the result of what you see here.
Yeah, just run off. Used all the good stuff, dumped all the bad stuff to the side, and said, "We'll deal with it later."
It almost like this, just like one big ass party.
Yep.
On
Let
this
the good
planet.
times roll.
Yeah, they survived for a time selling the wealth they had accumulated. But when they finally exhausted the last of their energon, the great engines what did I say?
Perpetuated.
Sorry about that. I'm illiterate. Perpetuated their crumbling utopia, finally self-destructed. Now, maybe you can lend a little more info on this next part about, it kind of displays right here, the gravimetric pull right here. I don't really understand. It's kind of saying what happened to the planet.
The best I can say is that it sounds like the planet was actually artificially created by using some large engine generators to create a gravity pull to suck all this stuff together. It kind of sounds like when those engines failed, it lost its gravity and the planet just crumbled. So It makes me wonder if it's one of those situations where even the world they lived on maybe previously wasn't good enough or didn't have enough resources, and they built their own planet utopia thinking it would never run out of energy, and somebody didn't keep check on that.
Okay.
I don't know. Long what if on that one.
But the survivors were left with no alternative but to forage for their existence amongst the teeming wreckage of their vanity. So basically, when you mistreat everything and civilization crumbles, it's every civilian, every person for themselves.
Yep.
So, I mean, and we can see what he's trying to teach, right? I mean, we can see what's going on with Cybertron.
Yep.
So these Junkions were short-sighted fools. I do not lack for vision. I will reclaim my world eventually, and my role, my legacy, will last forever. Why? What is that drives you, Megatron? Dominance is the only truth of existence. Very good. You are learning after all.
Sometimes it just makes me wonder if he's just crazy and saying whatever he wants to just convince Megatron he's all-seeing.
Well, sometimes there is all-seeing in crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
We just don't understand it. It seems crazy to us.
All right. I see that he's got his proper name here.
Oh, God. Oh, God. Uproar.
Slag. That's what, whatever with all that, man. So back at the Toraxis blast site, and we can see all. And you are right. You know, this is titled Fallout, and later on we will find out that this is very toxic to everybody. So, and Grimlock is looking for the rest of the Dinobots.
Yeah, he's even questioning if he's still alive. Is anyone still alive? Am
All
I?
right.
So the grand exodus has started. Basically, people are leaving, you know, so Prime didn't stop them. And you've got Blaster, who is interviewing Diatlas on what's going on. Diatlas paints kind of a not very hopeful situation of what's left. Not really taking sides, but also basically saying that you should get off planet. So, in a sense, he's trying to control the situation over Prime as well. A little bit self serving, but also kind of not. Because, you know, because he thinks he knows what's best for everyone, too.
Correct.
So, they're watching the Jets leave. Prime's watching them leave. Seems a little mad about it. But
now, understand as well, this exodus is happening in Chapter 5. Just want to note that for later. I think
yeah,
it's
in a
important.
12-chapter book.
Yeah, correct. Let's see. Okay. So within
now inside the crater.
Yeah, within the irradiated Toraxis crater. So definitely toxic and radioactive. Like Jetfire says here. Are our rad shields holding Perceptor? Radiation levels are spiking, Jetfire, but I think we're safe for the time being. And Wheeljack says, I've never seen such destruction before. Keep your eyes out for the survivors. I think that's Red Alert right there.
That's Ratchet, if I'm judging by the crest.
Okay.
Yeah, that's Ratchet.
So the best team of scientists and healers, or engineer and mechanic / medic. Okay, so going down into the crater. Looks like lava.
Yeah. Pressurized substrate. Yeah.
So they're actually going down to actually explore.
I think it's good to see Perceptor. I have a question. Have we seen Perceptor yet in the continuity so far?
I don't think so.
I don't think we have either. So we both know he's a very important. I like him. He's one of my favorites. So, and Prowl says, "Did you guys see that? I don't think we're alone down here. I don't know. It could be survivors. Fan out. I got a bad feeling about this. So that's going to go ahead and take us out of. Let's see. That's going to take us out of issue 5. Let's see what we got here. So, what's up, old school cool diecast? McDJ is still here. Face looks like a toy from a generic McDonald's Transformers Happy Meal toy. McDJ actually might be onto something with that. When I was a kid, I used to get Kellogg's Frosted Flakes. And Briag. One night, I couldn't remember, there were shuttle drivers or something, but you looked it up for me.
That gray space shuttle thing that you had?
Yes. In the cereal was a robot. And he was on a card, and it's like a 3-piece robot. But to me, it was the shit. Because I'm having breakfast and I open it up. Of course, first bowl, I'm digging way down in there. I got to get that thing all the way down there. And that head kind of looks like what one of those robots might have been. So good call, McDJ. Let's see. Later, DFS. So after those 2 issues, I don't think this moves slow. I think Monstrosity moves at a very good pace.
Yeah. It's definitely a faster pace than Autocracy, because Autocracy had to build that slow kind of coup d'etat kind of atmosphere. You know, they had to develop the takeover. What really launched what was going on? You know, because Megatron Origin, they jump right into it, and you see Megatron's side of it. Autocracy really looks at what's going on from the Optimus side, Orion Pack side, / the Autobot police, and what they're seeing with their corrupt government.
I just think this one's written really well. Man, autocracy drug, but this one I just feel, man, this is. We talk about some of the best ones we've read so far. Obviously, you got Megatron Origins, which is amazing. I think this is a really good one. Let's see, what have we done?
Helped too because they were jumping between 3 intersecting stories as a whole.
Yeah,
the last 2 issues we focused on what was going on with the Dinobots and Scorponok, what was going on with Megatron, and I guess that it actually was just 2 stories back and forth.
Well, I mean, Optimus Prime and Diatlas
Yeah,
be the third, overall.
well, you want to know something? That may lead to this being written so well. This is done in 2013, so this is a foreshadowing effort. You think of everything that was done. They started this story in 2005. This is 8 years later. They were able to retrospectively go back and kind of write some things in. So it just lends to the creative and the writing team for IDW during this time because they're just getting stronger. This being done later is a proof of just how strong they were getting. The ball was just rolling and building steam.
yep.
Because even though this is in 2013, these events happened with comics that were written like in 0506 timeline wise.
Yeah, it shows they were pretty careful about their timeline because they didn't have to have a lot of errata or touch ups, I guess, to make the timeline work. They were pretty
Right.
good with their spotlights and their older issues to stay pretty linear so they could jump in between things and add.
Right. Yeah. Like Ramrod said, this is discussion time. So if any questions, let's get them in here. If there's no discussions, we'll go ahead and bounce. We'll get out of here.
Hey, Pac, you asked earlier if that was the first time we saw Perceptor. It looks like Perceptor was in Megatron Origins issue 2 on the security team.
Issue 2, so that's early on in the series.
Yeah, that was our first episode, wasn't it?
Yeah, that was our very first show we did. Because it's first in the continuity.
Yeah.
So
it's probably a brief appearance.
You said did you say Security Council?
Well, it said that they on the wiki that he was on the security team, the security services.
Would that be the security for the Autobots at that time?
Yeah, because he was under Sentinel Prime.
Okay, so that's good to know. He's been here from the start, but I don't know if it shows if I don't know if it says if he was in anything else.
I don't think so. I think that that was pretty much it until this point, until he was on Jetfire's team going into the Taraxis refinery ruins.
Right. Okay. Anything else, fellas?
No, I think that's it.
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right, guys, we're going to try to get to these as many Tuesdays as we can. Tuesdays seems to be the day that we will do these reviews and read-throughs. So we do appreciate everybody showing up. DJ, Amazing Cars 13, Old School Cool Diecast, DFS Infinity, Curtis Schultz. I think I saw him in here tonight. M3 Reviews. Let's see. I'm sorry if I missed anybody. Oh, Zelda Diecast was in here. Go ahead.
Dirt Fisherman, he showed up.
Oh, Dirt was here, man. And like I said, I don't get to see everybody because we really get in depth to these stories.
Pop the Trunks here. Zelda Diecast Racing.
So
I'm just going through reviews and looking for names. Or looking at comments.
Oh, Pop the Trunk was in here too. So do apologize if I missed somebody, but with that being said, everybody just be cool, do good things for other people,